This is Glenn Healy.
Hi, this is Braden Holtby.
This is Daryl Sutter.
Hi, this is Brian Burke.
This is Jordan Tutu.
This is Keith Morrison.
This is Kelly Rudy.
Hi, this is Scott Hartnell.
Hey, everybody. My name is Theo Fleury.
This is Tim McAuliffe of Sportsnet, and you're listening to the Sean Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. I'm excited about today. I haven't known Mr. Jamal very long, but in the short time I've got to know him, he is just one incredible human being, and you're going to get to hear all about it here shortly. So let's get on to today's episode sponsors. Carly Kloss and Windsor Plywood, builders of the podcast studio table. For everything wood, these are the guys. Deck season is absolutely all around us. Hopefully the weather cooperates for a few more months, because that would be awesome. Anyways, Windsor is stocked up in all their MicroPro Sienna brown treated lumber. So if you got a backyard project on the go, stop in and see the group at Windsor Plywood, or just hop on your phone and take a look at their Instagram page and see the cedar deck renovation they did a little while back. Like, sweet Jesus, it's beautiful. Whether we're talking manels, decks, windows, doors, or sheds, these are the guys. Give them a call, 780-875-9663. Trophy Gallery, downtown Lloydminster. They are Canada's supplier for glass and crystal awards. We just came through a crazy week in the NHL, and if you're looking for memorabilia, Clint and the team over there have some pretty cool autographed jerseys, pictures, etc. And so for any sports fan looking to get some memorabilia, Clint is the man. He's got stuff right in store that is just sharp if you're looking to do awards, or maybe you got some, playoff drafts going on, that type of thing. Us and the Newman family have used them to do our engraving for quite some time. If you want to take a look, go to trophygallery.ca. All sizes, all shapes, all price ranges. Contact Clint at Trophy Gallery, downtown Lloydminster today. They are Canada's awards store. Visit trophygallery.ca to see everything they got in stock. Jen Gilbert and team for over 45 years, since 1976, the dedicated realtors of Coldwell Banker Cityside Realty have served Lloydminster and the surrounding area. They offer star power, providing their clients with 7-day-a-week access. Service obviously is a priority to them, because they know big life decisions are not made during office hours. So that's Coldwell Banker, Cityside Realty, for everything real estate, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 780-875-3343. You got that house? Why not give mortgage broker Jill Fisher a call? Now, obviously, her name says it all. She serves the areas of Lloydminster, Bonnyville, Cold Lake, and Vermilion, and she's looking forward to working with you for all your mortgage needs. Maybe you're like this guy, and you're going, now what now? Because it's the mortgage rates are just constantly changing. We're coming out of the year that has just been one of the strangest years of my life. I'm sure for your life as well. And you might as well get a leg up on what you're doing with your house, what you're doing with your mortgage rate, and how she can help you, all right? So give her a call, 780-872-2914, or visit her at jfisher.ca, and she'll help clear it all up for you. Clay Smiley and the team over at Prophet River, update on the new building. The interior walls and vault are under construction. They have custom walnut cabinetry and gun rack being built as we speak. They're moving into the old Buckle building, which is pretty cool. I can't wait to take a look inside. They specialize in importing firearms from the United States of America. They do all that pesky paperwork that none of us want to do, and they make sure that that it gets into your hands. That's as simple as it is. They take care of registering the firearm and everything, and get it to you by mail, courier, or bus, wherever you are, all right? Just go to ProfitRiver.com and check them out today. They are the major retailer of firearms, optics, and accessories, serving all of Canada. If you're looking for any outdoor signage, head over to Read and Write, or give them a call, 306-825-5111. I always got to plug Mrs. Deanna Wandler. She's always making me look sharp. And Gartner Management. They're a Lloydminster-based company specializing in all types of rental properties to help meet your needs. Whether you're looking for a small office or a 6,000 square foot commercial space, give Wade Gartner a call today, 780-808-5025. And if you're heading into any of these businesses, make sure you let them know you heard about them on the podcast, right? Now let's get on that T-Bar 1 tail of the tape. Originally from Calgary, he's a co-owner of Wayside Dental, teammate of the Bike for Breakfast crew, builds water wells in Nicaragua, a dental leader for Change for Children where he goes around the world to remote places with no access to dentists. I'm talking about Nekky Jamal. So buckle up. Here we go.
This is Nekky Jamal, and welcome to the Sean Newman Podcast.
Well, welcome to the Sean Newman Podcast. Today I'm joined by Mr. Nekky Jamal. So first off, thanks for hopping in the studio with me, big fella.
Sean, always a pleasure, buddy. You've been the highlight of my year so far, I have to say. Meeting Sean Newman, getting to know Sean Newman was the highlight of 2021 because I guess it's really shaped my year. Hey?
You think so?
I think it's shaped my year, Sean.
Well, yeah. Here, I'll put the camera on you. I gotta grab something out of the fridge for you.
Yeah. Oh, let me guess.
No, I went to so here's the backstory for the listeners. They're going, what on earth is happening here? Me and Nekky, we sat down with a group in town, and I got telling the story of how I first met Nekky, and he walks into the podcast studio when we're having the first meeting of Bike for Breakfast. At that point, we didn't know it was Bike for Breakfast. At that point, we didn't even know what was going on. Just I had this idea, so I invite Nekky. I send Nekky a message. At this point in time, we do not know each other. I've sat in the dentist chair like once or twice, and we're sitting there, and he walks in, and he's got his glasses on, his stylish glasses, and he's looking all, I don't know, dapper. And so I'm explaining this to these guys, and I say, and he looks like he drinks cider. And I was like, geez, I was treating you like you're a hockey player in the locker room, and I'd known you for like 10 years. And then I'm like, oh, I really hope he didn't take that the wrong way, because I was like, the cider comment might have, we've only known each other for like 3 weeks at this point.
If that's what it takes to offend me, then so be it. But no, man, it's been awesome, Sean. We've gone on quite a ride so far this year.
We certainly have. So what I did was I went down to our buddy Brad, Mr. Hoffman, at 4th Meridian, and I was trying to find a cider, which wasn't there. So I got a sour instead. Does that work?
Perfect.
Does that work?
Sean loves his sours. I remember that from the trip.
You may take the first there, big shooter.
Right out of the growler.
Well, I'm excited about this. For the listener, I always go back. It was like right around April 1st when I send Nekky this message on Instagram, just because I can't remember, something about helping less fortunate, or I can't remember now, but I was like, I should just message this guy. And I'm like, you want to meet tonight? Yeah, I want to meet tonight. And from there, and I know people have probably heard this before, from there, Bike for Breakfast is truly born. So first off, cheers, man.
Cheers,
it's cool to have you in the studio. Now, the reason I got you in here, that is some fine draft from 4th. Shout out again to Brad.
Yes,
he does. Yes, he does. He makes a funny biker, but one hell of a beer.
When he took his shirt off, and it was what? It felt like -20 with all the wind and riding down the highway in the rain. That was something else. You got to see the inner Brad then, because he's a reserved dude.
He's a reserved dude, yeah.
Yeah, and then his inner colors came out, and it was pretty awesome to see that, I think.
Yeah, well, once again, for the people who didn't see it, he put on these like little blue spandex shorts and rode without a shirt on, and it was raining, and it was just miserable. And it isn't like it is right now. Right now, it's like +30 outside. Everybody's cooking.
Yeah.
Back then, it was a little bit chillier.
To say the least, yeah. I was dreading the last 50K of that. It was pretty cool. But
what did you think of the? We're through Bike for Breakfast. It's behind us now, or I mean, we're still getting donations. I was literally just talking to Brad about this. This is wild.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the, from where we started in this room here to calling it Race to End Hunger to, like for Bike for Breakfast to getting the logo built, adding all the team members in, What are your thoughts on the experience?
Sean, I'm sure you agree with me. I don't think either of us could have predicted it's success to become this big. I think our original goal was, you know what, we're going to raise $100,000 for schools in and around Lloyd, because Lloydminster isn't Lloydminster. It's the surrounding communities that make Lloyd what it is, as you said. And I don't think either of us would have predicted its success and its, ability to drive the community to think big and to think of something beyond themselves. And let's take on this crazy goal of feeding every single kid in Lloyd for breakfast every day. Why can't we do that right now? We live in, I would say, from my past experience, one of the most charitable towns I've ever been a part of, like where everyone wants to help. I think that's a unique ability of the Lloydminster people. We just have it in our hearts to help. And so it's cool just how the whole community took it upon themselves to take on this goal that we had. So I don't know. I can talk about this stuff forever. It warms my heart, man.
Well, it was, I call it the bullet train, because once it got rolling, the entire group that we assembled, which is even more hilarious, right? Like, it's just like, I call this the Bad News Bears, because, if you've ever watched the movie Bad News Bears, like, there are a bunch of kids that don't play ball and they're trying to play a baseball team, essentially, right? Well, we were a group of people. Sure, I'd ridden across Canada, but that's a lifetime ago at this point. Between the group of us, nobody had ridden longer than 20K on a highway in the past 5 years, let alone the past decade. Some had never even ridden that far in their lifetime on a highway. So it was like, to pull off what would happen was incredible. What I'm curious about is, what did you think of the actual bike trip? There was a lot that went on. Obviously, losing the bus was stressful on everybody. Yeah. But getting there, getting back, seeing everybody get out of their comfort zones, dealing with the elements, tired, dark, everything. We had a lot thrown at us, whether it was, you biking the first night in the lightning storm, or on the way back, the tornado warnings that we're all going like, what on earth are we doing here? The extreme heat of one day at 30 above, to by that night it was +5. Totally. And you're like, what is this, right? To have that big of a drop. What did you think of it?
The most I biked before this trip was, I used to work at the zoo in Calgary in university, and I would ride my bike to the zoo. But one day I was riding and it was raining out, and I slipped, like when I grabbed on my brake, and I fell off my bike and smashed my head on the road, cracked my helmet in half. And ever since then, whenever I see a kid riding around the street without a helmet, I let them know of this, tragic event that could have happened. But anyways, that was my last experience on a bike, man. And then to jump into riding on the highway, I remember I had to, I felt like I needed someone to hold my hand to go down Highway 17 for the first time while we were training, and be like, this really wide shoulder, the cars, they're not going to hit you. And in the back of my head, I'm always thinking someone's texting or something crazy like that, and I'm going to get hit. So that's always, in the back of my mind. But getting on the trip and just giving it all you have, and knowing that, when your turn's up, you have to leave it all on the road. That's kind of what motivated me. And I love that, I got to ride that North Battleford Hill, because that was a hill I was nervous about, right? Thinking like, man, what if I can't get up that hill fast enough, and, I have to get off my bike and walk, because that would just be embarrassing. Right. And, no, it was, that part was amazing. I was, happy to give it my all. And when everyone got out of their comfort zone, when everyone was tired because no one slept in 30 hours, you got to, meet everyone's inner self. And I know I just went quiet and was thinking, how is Jim so funny right now? You just sit there and you just say the dumbest stuff and you just laugh.
Because Jim slept the entire time. He's
totally.
The one who didn't have 30 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Oh man. And I remember poor Nat, she got a little dehydrated, because you guys were giving her, when we were all stuck on the bus, you guys were, going flat out, and it was hot. And so it was just cool to see everyone push themselves for a greater cause.
Don't you think that more people should push themselves? You just don't understand what you're capable of if you get out of your shell.
Absolutely. But, I had this conversation, we were talking about Mikey Dubs before, and I love Mikey. But the thing I like about Mikey is his mentality. Because I asked him, I'm like, what makes you not quit? We all have that voice in our head. We'll be running, and for some people it's 2 kilometers, and some people it's, when you're running 30 kilometers, you have this voice in your head and saying like, it's time to stop. It's really easy to pretend you got an injury right now. It's really easy to do this, but to tell that voice to shut up and keep on going. To me, I think that's what separates us, and that's what builds character. And it doesn't only have to be physical; it's mental too. Like, what makes you keep on going when you feel like your back's up against the wall? What makes you, turn right into the wind and keep on going for some more? So, I don't have all the answers for that right now, but I don't even know, man.
What did Mikey say when you asked him?
He's just like, man, there's no voice. After a while, there is no voice. You create that voice. You just tell that voice to shut up and keep on going. And I feel like, throughout my life, I was never one like, yeah, I'll run like a half marathon, but I'm not running 60K or 150K like what he did on the treadmill, or 130K. But we all have those points in our life where you say, okay, this sucks. I'm going to push through, and I'm going to, make a better life for myself.
Well, I could sit and talk bike for breakfast all day long, because it was well, yeah, like I say, it was a bullet train. I don't know if we caught lightning in a bottle, whatever it was. It was something that you just won't soon forget, right? But what I really wanted to bring you on for is, I get to, the trip was really cool because, I went from not knowing who you were to within 3 months, it's only been 4 months, like it's pretty crazy, to feeling like we've seen some things, and that's brought us pretty close. And that doesn't happen unless you facilitate that, right? And so now I'm just like, I really want to sit down. Everybody talks, you have a buzz around town. You're the dentist who is always seems to be putting his right foot forward and never backs away from a challenge, things like that. And so I'm like, I kind of want to know the Nekky origin story. I kind of want to hear what it is. Now, first, before we get there, I do have to point out that possibly one of my favorite listeners out there is your office manager, and she was already talking to me today about you coming on, and she's all excited about it. How is working with Miss P?
I think it's awesome. I think she
Putting
challenges
him on the
me.
spot.
Yeah, she challenges me to, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I think that's what makes us an amazing team, because I'll come up with an idea and she'll be like, Nekky, that's a horrible idea. She'll come with an idea and like, P, that's the shittiest idea I've ever heard in my life. But when when we have that common goal, it's nice to have someone that always has your back. And I can say anything to her and she can say anything to me, and we always have each other. And so I call her my work wife. We fight and we love each other at the same time. And I think that's the common key to any, great work relationship. And I value everything that Patricia does for Wayside, but also does for me. Like she's I'd say, one of my strongest supporters out there. And I get some really crazy ideas, Sean, and we can talk about those too. And she's always the first one to, have my back. And so I can't thank Patricia enough. Like I love her to pieces.
Well, P didn't think I was going to ask about her, but I thought, you know what? P's been blowing my phone up about all these different episodes she's listening to. I better ask when her coworker is sitting there. That's right. I was like, how do I phrase this, right?
It's it's good right now. I'm sure someday she just wants to strangle me, but I know she's got my back and I got hers.
So give me the Nekky origin story. Everybody knows you in town as the Lloydminster dentist, always smiling, always talking with his hands, etc.
How does everyone make fun of me for that?
I don't make fun of you. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I talk with my hands too.
Okay. It's tough. We all have those defining moments in our lives, and I think everyone goes through a certain amount of trauma in their life, and it's how you bounce back from that and how you create the best of a bad situation. And if we want to, you know what, let's just go right into it. I'm not going to hold back. I know a lot of people don't know my story and know much about my life. And so I got to throw it out there. So when I was young, my defining moment for me was my mom telling me, you're going to be dealing drugs in the back alley, basically, when you're a teenager. And hearing that, like, it gives you pause at 13 years old. And I was never a good student. I liked playing basketball. I liked watching basketball on TV. I thought I was going to be Shaquille O'Neal when I was older. And hearing that set my life on fire. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to prove to you what I can do. And that moment, I still remember it as if it was yesterday. I still have goosebumps right now because, man, I got shivers right now because that changed my life. And whenever I think about how I'm going to set this world on fire, it's that moment right there.
That's I don't know. I'm a parent. I don't want to rag on anyone. I look at that and I hear that and I'm like, that's heavy, right? Right? Like, no, I don't know. I would hopefully never say that to my children, right? Because I want the best for them all the time. I'm trying to put the best for them. So
I haven't spoken to my mom since that day either.
You haven't spoken to her?
I haven't seen my mom since I was 13 years old. Yeah, I think she lives in Calgary. You know, my parents split up, and that's the last day I saw my mom.
I hate to pry. But have you ever thought about I
don't know, man. Like, I don't want to say I struggle with it because I don't think about it. And I know, like, man, like, we all see counselors and we all, you know, think about it like, oh, you have unsolved, like, parent issues. But I don't, man. Like, I feel great. I feel like I've been in a great place in my life for, you know, a long period of time. We all get thrown off here or there, but, like, my dad and I have the most solid relationship. And I'm so blessed to have him in my life. And he lives in Calgary and he comes to visit me. And if you hung out in Tim Hortons for long enough, he's probably the one buying your kids cookies because he always sits in Tim Hortons and buys everyone cookies for some reason. But that's my dad. Yeah, he. I
know where you get it from. Though.
Yeah,
right.
no, I'm just super lucky to have my dad in my life, and I haven't seen my mom, and I don't know, man. I don't need to.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I come from a completely different story, so
yeah,
I just curious, right? Like,
totally, right?
You know, to hear that and then never look back.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty cool how you took something extremely negative, right? Like, there's two ways that road goes. There's a fork there,
Yeah.
right? And one is down the old dirt path and who knows where it leads. The other one is you hit the express lane and let's supercharge this. And that's what you've been doing. You know, I've got to see it for the last 3 months. It's like, you know, getting to be around guys who are busier than me, which is like impressive, and successful at it, which is even more impressive. And you're a guy that is taking a very, I don't know the word, a very troubling moment and have turned it into something that just has bared a ton of fruit.
Yeah, it was. Thanks, man. But it's been cool. The hard part for me was, and I guess the most interesting part for me, like looking back, was seeing my dad. Like, we didn't have a place to live. We didn't have food, and he would always ensure I had lunch, which is crazy. Like, looking back as an adult, like, I very rarely bring lunch to work, and knowing, like, when I was 13 years old, I'd go to school and he'd always buy the expensive fruit, like plums. You know what I mean? Like the fruit in the grocery store, like usually you just get a banana if you're lucky, right? But like he would always make sure I had strawberries or plums or something. I'm just bringing a tear to my eye right now because it just shows how much he cared for me when I was a kid when we didn't have anything. You know what I mean? So seeing and remembering those parts about my dad makes me want to be a better person, and also makes me remember of how big of a rock he was when I was growing up, man. So it's cool.
I think I caught in there that you didn't have a place to live. And
Yeah.
I've heard you kind of talk about this before. So you were living out of a vehicle then?
Yeah, my dad and I, we that day, we're getting right into it here, Sean. You're killing me here. The day when my dad, or when my mom said that to me, I went to go live with my dad, and we didn't have a place to live, and so we were staying at friends' houses, and so I would go for sleepovers. We all go for sleepovers at our buddies' houses, and I just stayed a little bit longer. And my dad would do the same thing, and we didn't have anything. And so we got back on our feet, and then, we were slowly able to rent an apartment. And I always remember the generosity of others. And when I grew up, I knew I wanted to be that person for someone else. And it's really cool that I've been able to be I've been able to, give back in ways I never thought I would have ever imagined, right? And so it's really cool, and I feel like I'm just getting started.
I hate to pick, you say, oh, we're getting right into it, but I think it's really powerful for people to understand you can go from where you were at and I mean, look at what you've become, Nick. You're an extremely successful guy in Lloydminster. You do amazing things all the time, right? Like, you're a huge supporter of the community and giving back and everything else. But for people to hear, listen, it wasn't on a silver spoon, and I think that's really it's a good motivator, and it's a good story for people to hear. It doesn't have to be a hand-me-out. That's pretty crazy, right? And I think that's really powerful for people to hear. That's the only reason I ask. I don't mean to do it to bring up any, obviously it's going to bring up some memories for you, but I think for people listening, emotion is a strong motivator, right? And it resonates with people when they hear that. They're like, wow. I had Dad on here about 3-4 episodes ago for Father's Day. So maybe that's a little more than 3-4 episodes ago. People still reach out to me pretty much every second day because they finally have listened to it. And he's emotional the entire thing, because what we do is we talk about his 2-3 year, well, probably 2 to 5 years span, which were the toughest years of his life, and the generosity of people around this area, and specifically, that help him get through it. And that's really good for people to hear. That, it's good for Dad to get it off his chest, but it's really good for people to hear that, wow, that really meant something to him when I did, X, Y, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, totally, man. And I think emotion's the biggest motivator out there, because it lights a fire under your ass to do something about your situation. And I just remember, my dad telling me, he's like, do you see all this here? Yeah, so there.
Outside.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like, you see all this here? This can change. This can change your life right here. You have the ability to create something amazing. And I found that ability through school, and I studied my ass off, and I was never a smart kid. I'm still not the smartest dude, man, but I'm willing to work harder than everyone else in the room.
Necky's getting the full experience. I
like it.
I'm getting the window wiped down right now. The tune's blaring outside. We're both kind of staring like, where's that sound coming from? But that's what it is.
Yeah.
Do you always want to be a dentist? I'm trying to figure out, did you always you got a beautiful smile, Nekky.
Thank
right?
you. Thank you, man. Thank you.
He's for all the listeners who don't want me to get my teeth fixed, we're in the process of it. I was there today, and I'm sure it just pains him to look over at me and see the old hockey grin.
Yeah.
But I mean, did you always want to be a dentist? Was that,
Let me tell you, going back to my dad, I remember going to the dentist when I was living with him, and you could literally drive a truck between my 2 front teeth. I was 100 pounds overweight. I was a fat kid, and I had a Michael Strahan gap between my front teeth. And at 13 years old, that's not helping anyone, right? A little bit pudgy, and and these teeth were always too big for my face, right? But going through braces gave me confidence, and that's something that you can never buy, and that's something that you can never gain from anything
How
else.
did going through braces give you confidence? You mean your teeth getting fixed?
My teeth gave me confidence, man. man, my teeth allowed me to smile. I'd be sitting here right now with my hand over my face if I had the teeth I had when I was 13. And so
Isn't that interesting?
it is. And that's the power of dentistry, man. And once I found that out, I'm like, dang, I'm going to be a dentist. But then I'm, in second year university, and I go to my dentist and, get your, checkup and cleaning. And I look up and he's like, so what are you going to be? And I'm like, I want to be a dentist, but my hands are too big, so I can't do that. And he's just like, what do you mean your hands are too big? And I'm like, man, I'm 6'5". I got big hands. And he's like, and he puts up his hands to mine, and mine were like little shrimp hands compared to his. And so once I found out that my hands weren't too big, I jumped right into it, man. That was cool. And then, I went to U of S for dental school. I did my undergrad at U of C in Calgary, and then I went to U of S for dental school because there isn't a dental school in Calgary. So
I find it very interesting that a smile gave you confidence.
dude, how does it not? Like, I love how you have so much confidence, and you're just proving me wrong right here, right? Like,
No,
Yeah,
but
holy smile, right?
but
Yeah.
everybody has their everybody has the thing that gives them confidence, right?
totally.
So I don't know. For me, it's always been body weight. Always, as a young kid, I was always pudgy. I was this short, stocky kid.
Yeah.
And the stupid comments, and it just always bothered me. It still lingers now, right? Like,
Yeah.
I hate the comments. I hate the weight comments. I think there's nothing more to kids. I could see how the teeth thing got you.
Yeah.
And for me in hockey and everything, I just learned to kind of become a little bit numb to it. Kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
F them. I don't really care, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
care what everybody else thinks. But tons of kids, don't develop into their body until later on,
Totally.
right? Or
Yeah.
don't start going to the gym until later on. And then, like, Nekky, you're one of the fittest guys I know, right? Like, it's funny to hear that you were a pudgy guy.
Oh, man.
And that your teeth were the thing that gave you confidence. Because my teeth, I've always rocked it. I've never had any issue with my teeth whatsoever. I understand that I look better with a full set, even if all the people who love the teeth say that's not true. It is totally true. I totally admit that I will look, I don't know, whatever it is, better with a full set. But it's never bothered me. Not once. I enjoy it. I think it's a conversation starter. Let's have some fun. This is who I am. And if you don't like it, that's cool.
Yeah.
But, like, to me, if you're going to judge me off my teeth, and that's a deal breaker right off the hop, chances are we're not going to be friends.
Anyway,
Yeah, chances are not, right?
Yeah. No, man, it's confidence, man. Like, to be able to, for me anyway, I can walk into a room with a big goofy grin and I can get everyone on my side right away, right? Like, I just feel like if I can smile at someone, we can communicate and we know we're already on the same page. To me, that's what it is.
How happy are you that masks are gone away now outside? I know in work,
Yeah,
it's a little
masks,
different.
We still are at work. Part of me is like, you know what, man? I haven't been sick in a year and a half. I kind of love it, but I'm happy to get on with the real world, and I'm happy that when I walk into a store, I don't have to wear a mask, because it is hard to, when people wave at you, especially, and they're like, hey, I think I know you, but all I can see is your eyes.
It's crazy how hard it was to identify people when you can't see their bottom half.
Oh,
Isn't that
totally.
wild?
Yeah,
it's like,
right?
I think, do I know you? Do I not know you? Right?
Yeah.
And it's all it is like, the bottom half covered up. Why would it make it that tough?
Totally, right? And all the misinformation out there, like, or I guess differing opinions about it. And it for me, it's hard because I get all different opinions come to see me as, like, their dentist, right? And so I never want to say the wrong thing. Like, there's harsh people that, like, don't come near me if you're not wearing a mask. And there's some people that says, take your mask off if you're going to talk to me. And you're just sitting here being like, I'm just going to play the safe card and not even talk about it. Right. So, I'm happy to play along the rules. I'm not going to stir up controversy about masks, and I don't really care, man. We got bigger fish to fry out there.
I guess I'm just happy to see people smiling again.
Absolutely,
I got to,
right?
the parade was today, so I got to bike around
Yeah.
and, like, wave and smile and say hello to everyone. And if anyone knows me, that's exactly what I want to do.
Right.
I want to talk to all the little kids. I want to talk to the old women who are sitting there. There's this great group of ladies, probably, I don't know. I'm terrible with numbers, but let's say there were 75 sitting out there with candy that had been handed to them and coffee. It pulled out, like, made a pop-up table, and they had their chairs out, and I'm like, oh man, that's slick. When I'm that age, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to have a little Bailey's in my coffee,
Yeah.
but that's exactly what I'm going to do. They were having a grand old time, but everybody's smiling, right? And I just love that you can, just by biking, I could feel that again.
Totally,
And it's been something that's been a little bit lost for the last little bit. So I agree. We don't need to go down the rabbit hole of it, but
Yeah.
it's so fresh. It was only Sunday
Yeah.
that it all came back, and to see everybody smiling and enjoying everybody's presence and pulling, how do you get community? You have people out, start to spread the, I see you're wearing a Peace of Love shirt, right?
Yeah.
Like, start to bring the love back together, right?
Totally,
like
right?
you gotta get that feeling going, because when we're all isolated, not talking, man, it's a different world to go even to the grocery store.
Totally, man. And I think we need to like heal as a society too. Like we've been through a lot this last year and a half, and it's important to know that we are still one community, right? And so I think we're making a step forward in the right direction, hopefully, and all this, all the relaxation of rules proves to be, the right decision, because I think we're all ready for that to get back to normal too. I wish I was in the parade today though.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, gotta work.
That was a drop of the ball by Nekky. What was it like when you graduated? That must have been a pretty special day to graduate from dental school.
Yeah,
I assume, right? Like,
yeah. I had this passion to do something, but I didn't know what. And I never had the ability to travel when I was a kid. And all your friends when you're in university, they go to Mexico and in Christmas break and stuff or whatever. And I'm like, I was broke, so I didn't have any cool opportunities like that. But I was really dying for an adventure. And so I remember hearing a story that one of my professors told me. He's like, I was going down the Amazon River and I was fixing teeth. And I was like, what? We can do that? Like, we can do that right now? Like, sign me up. So within 4 months, I signed up for a trip to the volcanic region of Guatemala. And I wanted to fix teeth like on the bases of volcanoes and see that part of the world, because I never had the ability to travel, right? And that was my first taste of what dentistry really is, man. Like, dentistry in Canada, it's one thing. Like, we're fixing smiles, we get rid of toothaches here and there, but like, it's not the real essence of like, getting people out of pain. Of course, we get people out of pain on a daily basis, but like, you go to some of these regions around the world that people have never even seen a dentist, and they've been living with abscessed teeth for decades. And to see that part of the world, and to know that you can help in such a massive way to these people, that's what got me about my profession. Is we have the ability to change lives, and it doesn't have to be through giving people a smile. It can be getting people out of pain so they can move on with their life. And I never understood that until I went to Guatemala for the first time.
You've done a lot of overseas now. Is there a story you have that just, you're talking, I don't know. I can't imagine not ever seeing a dentist. I don't want to see a dentist, but at least I have the option.
Yeah.
What was one of the countries then that you'll never forget because of what you got to do there?
Yeah, man, I have so many stories. I've traveled through Guatemala, Nicaragua, Peru, Ecuador. We were just in India right before COVID. But one story always stands out. And man, once you know me, I'm a pretty emotional dude. It doesn't take much for me to, get kind of sad and teary eyed about
Bring
things.
out the tears.
Bring out the tears. But I still remember it. We were working in an orphanage in Guatemala again. I've been to Guatemala and Nicaragua the most out of all the places. And so I was in Guatemala. We were working on an orphanage in the kitchen. And we had people, the kids, they would sit on the kitchen table. It was this metal table. And she lied down, and they have their bibs on them, the dental bib with their name and their age. And so her name is Maria, and she had an infected front tooth. And in Canada, what we would do is we would do a root canal and get rid of the nerve, and you can save your tooth. But down there, we don't have the ability to do that. We're working, and there's no power, there's no x-rays, there's nothing, right? So I was told by the senior dentist, remember, I was in my first year at this point, and so I don't know what necessarily is going on and how these trips work, right? And so the dentist says 1-1-X. And what 1-1 is that's your very front tooth, and X means you got to take it out. And so I'm like, okay, let's do this. Like, I'm going to get this girl out of pain. This is my job. This is what I'm here for. This is what I signed up for. And so I freeze her up, and I'm like, talking in my broken Spanish, which is kind of weird, by the way, like having someone do such a traumatic thing to you, and they can't even speak your language, first of all. So it's hard to communicate. But I think I'm doing her a favor, right? And so I'm like, I freeze her up, and I pull her front tooth, and she looks up at me and she says in Spanish, like, "Are we done?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, you're good to go. Like, go grab a prize at the table. Like, she'll take you out of here." And she feels around her face, and she's like, "We're all done?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she looks up, and a tear falls down her face, and she's just like, "When's the next tooth growing in?" And I said, "Well, we have an interpreter, right?" And I'm like, "There is no next tooth. That is your front tooth." And she says, with this hole in her smile now, "How am I going to get married?" And that's when it clicked for me. How is this girl going to get married? How is her ability to get out of the life she currently is in? Because they get married at a young age there, right? I've just screwed this poor girl over. Like, I've done something horrible to this girl. And it kills me to this day that I can't go back and reverse my decision. But I felt like I was doing what I was told to do, and like, what was best. And this poor girl may not be able to get married now. Do you know what I mean? Like, how is she going to get out of that orphanage? And so that's the power that we have as healthcare providers is we have to, always think of what's best for the patient. And I got a bad lesson of that right off when I started, right? So that's the story that kept me going back for more, thinking I can't make those mistakes again. And how am I going to, make that mistake right? And, I often think about that before every brigade we go on, and I share the story with all the new, dentists coming on board, saying, like, everything you do has an impact. And what are you going to do to create a positive impact? And if that's, not taking out that tooth, but instead let's get her to the next major city, and we can all pool some money, and we can pay for her to fix her front tooth so she doesn't have to lose her front tooth. Because at 13 years old, that's quite a traumatic event for especially a young lady, right? And that was really hard on me at as a new dentist. So it's interesting to see how you can help people without doing the traditional mode of the therapy. So yeah, I find that one hard.
You have moments in your life that stick out to you then?
Yeah, totally. I think we all do, right? This is it's what shapes us. And it's you make a mistake, and I fully admit I made a mistake, and I want to make right by her. So unfortunately, I'm never going to see her again, but I can help out all the other, young ladies in a similar situation. And so now we have a rule on our brigades, and whenever we bring dental students with us, like, I share the story and I say, we are never taking out, front teeth on young kids, and we will do everything we can to get them, the right care that's needed, even though we're an emergency, dental brigade in the middle of a remote region in Guatemala. We can pool our resources and make things happen. Yeah.
That's pretty admirable, right? For a lot of people, well, I don't know, maybe not for a lot of people. I would assume there's a group of people that wouldn't even bother. They'd just be like, well, that's what had to happen and whatever. But that's kind of what I love about you, Nekky, is you're a compassionate human being with a boatload of energy.
Yeah, thanks, man. But I make a lot of mistakes too.
We all make a lot of mistakes. Listen, we all make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
But it led me down a pretty dark road, Sean. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's it made me come home every time after every trip in like absolute despair, thinking, what am I doing with my life? Like, if I can create such an impact, in a halfway across the world, why am I not living there? Why am I not spending all my energy there? And I'd come home in these like crazy depressions and be like, man, I need to help more. I need to help more. Like, I'll sell everything I have. I need to help more. And then I met like my girlfriend, Nicole, and she, taught me that we can make such a huge difference, and basically we can make that through water. And so we started drilling water wells in Nicaragua and trying to, give water to those that go without. And we brought it back here to Lloydminster, and we had these huge fundraisers, and we called it one well at a time. And we would literally drill one well at a time through these fundraisers. And it was just amazing because people in Lloydminster were helping out people a world away. And to me, that was incredibly powerful and makes me love this community more and more, just even saying it, because whether you're biking for breakfast and helping kids in Lloyd, or you're, fundraising for a water well in Chinandega in northwestern Nicaragua, we all want to help. We just need the opportunity to, and we just need the right avenue to, right? Yeah.
That's I don't know. That's powerful stuff, Nick. It's been a an interesting trip in a friendship, I would say, us two getting to know each other, because I have my way of doing it, you have your way of doing it. At times they're very synergistic in how we attack things and push things along. And like I say, you're one of the busiest guys I know who continues to do a high level of the job at all times, right? So like, there's one thing to be busy. There's another thing to be busy and do it well. And to work alongside you, that's something I've noticed, is just how efficient and calm and cool and collected you can be. As you've got to know me, you know that I can get, I'm an emotional guy. I'm guided by my emotions. At times, it drives me nuts because I want to be calm, cool, and collected. Sometimes, I just got to yell and tell somebody to fuck off and be done with it, right? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's a time and place for that, too. I'm not saying that. But to help a world away is something that I find very intriguing, because that's a hard idea to sell. Honestly, it's not that I don't want to help somebody on the other side of the world, because I think what you're doing is very admirable. I just look around our area and I know there's things that nobody knows about and that are happening, and we have the ability to fix tomorrow if we really want to. Yeah. And if we know the problems, we can go do it. It only takes, look at what 11 of us accomplished. Totally. you add in Mr. Arby's, and all of a sudden you got 12 of us, right? Yeah. You take 12 of us, and all of a sudden you see what happens. It just takes a couple people to push it over the ledge, and you can make major things happen. But to do it on the other side of the world is a huge, huge endeavor.
Well, Sean, we all have the ability to change someone's today, change someone's tomorrow, and change someone's forever. We just need to get off our ass and do it. Because we all, you don't have to drill a water well in Nicaragua. You can hold a door open for someone. You can share a smile. You can be that ear for someone to listen to, man. Dude, there's so many ways that we can all help out, and we can make a difference in everyone's life. And I used to get caught up on man, I gotta save the world. I gotta bring water to all these people. These guys don't have water, and yet I'm running a half an hour shower before I even get into it, right? And so, have you ever heard the parable or the story of the starfish?
No, fire away.
Man, this is what changed my mindset right here. Okay, so I always used to think man, how am I going to take on everyone's problems and not come up with a solution? So there's a story. So a kid is throwing starfish back in the water, right? There's a big rainstorm. All the starfish get swept up. And a kid is throwing starfish back in the water. And an old man walking along the beach, comes up to this kid, and it's just like, hey, why are you throwing all these starfish back into the water? And as he's sitting there, throwing one by one, he's like, there's so many starfish out here. You're never going to make a difference. And the kid looks up to the old man, and he's just like, well, I made a difference to this one. And another one goes back in the water. And that's how I started to think about it. I'm not going to be able to take on everyone's problems. I'm not going to be able to solve the problems of the world, but I can make a difference in one person's life. And if that's all that I can do, well, hell, I did a damn good job of it then. And so whenever we go on a brigade, whenever we, try to help out, whether it's bike for breakfast or whether it's, drilling a water well in Nicaragua, or whether it's a dental brigade, or whether we're trying to, fix eyes with our optometry partners in India. We're not going to be able to help everyone, but we made a difference to that one person. And that's the mindset.
And the thing is that I love about that is you don't know where the one person you fixed, where their life goes and where they go and help and how it can just spread.
Totally. And Nicole, my girlfriend, she helped me like riddle all this out in my head. And cause she's been through all that too. And she calls it the ripple, right? Like we've all heard the ripple. You throw a stone in the water,
Yep.
It creates a ripple. And that's exactly what it is. From us helping that one person, what if we've been able to open up their life? Like now that they have water, they don't have to go travel 3 hours to go to the closest clean water source. Oh, what? Now they can go to school, because women and children were the primary, sources of getting water from the closest clean water source. Well, now we put those girls back into school. Now we've given them an education just from providing a water well in that community. Do they have the ability to do now? It's the ripple, right? And so I'm so excited to see it. And it's cool when you get to go back to these communities and you get to see these kids that hey, I pulled a couple of your abscess teeth when you were 6, and then you go back and they're 9 and, they're in school and you can see the book bags in there and you're like, huh, pretty cool. I wonder what's going to happen.
You think more people should have the ability to do something like that? And Trisha Hunter was telling me today, another one of the Bike for Breakfast crew.
Absolutely. Phenomenal member of the Bike for Breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was telling me that and I'm going to butcher this, Trisha, so I apologize. But what her and BPC did for, I believe, Christmas was, instead of, like in the oil industry, it's been commonplace, you take your best customers a bottle of whatever, or you take them for supper, or you send them to an Oiler game, or you send them blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And what they did was Trisha got these backpacks together, and inside it, she jammed as many blankets, I'm spacing on everything, blankets, granola bars, warm hoodie, anything you could possibly need in the worst place a person could be. And so what they did was they went out and gave them to customers and said, the next time you're wherever and you see a person in need, give them this and then tell us about it. And I was like,
damn, that's awesome.
That's unbelievable.
So good.
Because now everybody gets to feel and see what doing something like that to somebody. Can you imagine being on the, you're sitting on the curb and you got nothing, literally nothing. And I know there's people there that have put themselves there and everything else, but so everybody's got a story on how their lives got to a certain place. And to do something like that and have that initiative, I was like, wow, that is a cool idea. But then on top of it, now their customers get to give it to people and see the reactions and get to feel that, because there is an emotional interaction that happens when you do something kind like that for somebody, especially when you're not asking for anything back. It's like, here, you look like you could use this, and have a Merry Christmas, right? Like, that's pretty cool.
Oh, there's no question. And I think you nailed it right there. Doing something for someone that doesn't have the ability or the need to pay you back. I think that's the real part of the power behind that message there. And I think that's what gives us all purpose is doing things for others that don't have the ability to pay you back. If you want to change your mindset and you're on the rat race of living in life or living in Lloydminster or wherever you are, if you start, trying to do something for someone that doesn't have the ability to pay you back just that one day, like in this one example here, like, man, that will set your soul on fire and you're going to be addicted to that feeling. So I think that's a phenomenal idea on BPC and I'm going to be stealing that because that's awesome.
Well, I assume that's Miss Trisha Hunter or Mrs. Trisha Hunter.
She's awesome. Yeah.
And we both know
she's
brilliant.
Yeah,
like, she's fantastic.
Yeah. I love it.
You said a line at the start before we started recording. You said, if you sit still, you lose your purpose.
Yeah.
You believe that?
Absolutely. We're meant to sit still when we're dead. If you can't do something to change the surroundings you're in, you're you're going to fall on this hamster wheel, man. And you're never going to get ahead, and nothing is ever going to be enough. And so if you constantly, strive for that purposeful life and, do that by sharing that with others, I really think for me anyway, that's what's changed my mindset, and that's what's allowed me to, keep that positive energy, I guess.
Do you ever sit still?
No, hell no, man. I can't sit still, man. What
do you do for vacation? Like, what are your hobbies away from like trying to save the world and dentistry?
So my girlfriend and I, we like to backpack, and if it weren't for COVID right now, we would be backpacking in Indonesia somewhere. And the cool thing I like about her is she'll be like, okay, today we're going to spend $5. We're going to make this $5 stretch, and we will go on buses, and we will share meals together, and we'll sleep in the dodgiest place out there. And I love that stuff, man. It's so cool to, at the moment you're like, what the hell are we doing? This is so stupid. But then you get off of it and you're like, that led to so many cool experiences. Cause like, man, anyone can go, go to Mexico for a week and sit by the pool and drink beer. But man, you never get a fulfilled life out of that. I don't know, man. But like even on our last dental brigade to India, this is kind of a weird story. We were sleeping in this hotel, I would call it. The sheets haven't been washed and who knows how long. You just have to not think about it and go upon your day. Right. But then we woke up one day and one of the people were like, there's a condom wrapper like at the foot of the bed. And I'm like, that must have not been there before. They didn't clean the room. Right. And they were like, okay. Then the next day it wasn't there. Of course it was clean. But then the following day we come home from the dental clinic and there's another one there. And then we look into it. And when we go to open one of the room doors, someone closes it from the inside, like one of our doors, and they're renting out the rooms and we're staying in a brothel. And we don't even know that stuff. Right. And yeah, it was a pretty dodgy place. Maybe we should have known that stuff, but those are the experiences that keep you going back. Right. Like where else in the world would anyone get themselves into those scenarios, right? So I don't know. I love that shit.
You're looking for adventure.
I'm looking for adventure, and
that's why when I sat you here and said I want to bike to Tufnell, Saskatchewan, you're like, yeah, man.
100%. I still, you know what? I'm embarrassed. I still don't know where Tufnell is on a map.
You and the rest of Lloyd.
I didn't even look at a map. I'm like, you know what? That sounds crazy, and that sounds fun, and that sounds something that we can, push our limits and you always got to say yes to every experience that's given to you, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
You biked across Canada. That's crazy. That is crazy, man.
I think it's less crazy than you'd believe. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Biking Canada seems like your brain can't comprehend it. It's like the starfish on the beach. It's like, how are you going to get them all? I don't know. But then one day you bike 40K. And then the next day you bike 100K. And then the next day you bike another 40K. And all of a sudden you're across a province and a half. And you're like, oh, we got a problem. And you get to do the old check mark, right? Yeah. And then you bike, and then you bike, and then you bike. And pretty soon you're across the Maritimes. Yeah. And you get to just kind of X off things and you slowly check it off. It takes time. And it definitely takes being willing to be a little uncomfortable. Yeah. But I don't know. I think what I've learned, and is still learning for that matter, is some of the best experiences in life come from where you're the most uncomfortable. Like you're just like, oh, this is gonna be tough. But tough equals a story, and stories usually equate to good times, lessons learned. You learn more about yourself than you could ever imagine, and that beats easy any day of the week.
Yeah, right? No, I couldn't agree more, man.
You gotta let me in on this. You're going to school again?
Yeah, man.
What the heck are you doing?
You can't sit still. Like, so let me tell you. Let's go down this road. So before COVID, on the weekends, I thought it would be, pretty cool to share my skills with other dentists. Okay, so I never had that mentor I wish I had. You hear about these I talk to my friends and they have people mentoring them. You're a young grad in the profession, and it's nice to have mentors. And I never had that mentor. I never had someone to, share everything with me that they've learned in their long careers. I just didn't have that. And so I wanted to be that person for other people. So I started teaching, and I would teach other younger dentists how to, the best thing that I think I'm good at is taking out teeth and taking out wisdom teeth and putting people to sleep and taking out wisdom teeth. And I love that part about my job, and that's a whole other story. But I thought it'd be cool to, teach people that. So I would work 5 days a week, and then like Saturday and Sunday, I'd fly across the country in Vancouver or Toronto or wherever, and I would be teaching dentists, and then I'd be back at work on Monday. So I really never sat still, right? And then I started during COVID, of course, couldn't travel. So I made all my courses online, and I started all these, my own website, and one thing led to a next. And then I got stuck, and I'm like, I don't know how to market anything, because I've never marketed anything in my life. I don't know advertising. I refuse to advertise. I don't even know what that's about. Why would I spend money on advertising when I can help out a charity? You know what I mean? Like, to me, I get a lot more satisfaction of doing that than it would be advertising. But it's led me back to school, because now I'm like, you know what? I can help charity, and I can learn to, spread the word. So I've always been interested in it. So I've gone back to school to get a degree in marketing.
That's what you're doing.
Digital marketing. Yeah. I don't even know the first thing about it, but I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to challenge myself and I want to, learn something outside of dentistry, because I don't want to just be like, one dimensional. I'm going back to school. I'm still going to be a dentist. I love my job and never give it up, but I'm having fun doing this. It's been interesting.
Have you ever gotten close to burnout?
So many times, nonstop, actually. Yeah. And I've been forced to take, the odd Monday off, because it's burnout, right? But I think what we're referring to is when we're ready to hand in the towel. I used to get that way on the way home from dental brigades, because I would say, you know what, you're so tired, you've given everything your all, and you're like, what am I doing here? I need to be down there. I'm burnt out. I can't stand running an office. It's hard to, have 30 employees look at you every day and be like, okay, now what? Like that's hard, man. And especially during COVID, that was hard to navigate. And I think we've all had burnout over this time, trying to, deal with the rules, and it's just be easier to call in sick. But what's helped me a lot was I see a counselor, and that helps me talk things out and put things in perspective. But going back to my original mindset, whenever I am feeling burnt out, is doing things that get me out of that, and that's trying to help others, man. Because that's I know I'm a full self-fulfilling prophecy here, but it's if I can do something for someone else today, I create that purpose, right? And then I have no reason to be burned out.
I wish there's a ton of great volunteers. I shouldn't say that, but I wish more people volunteered their time, because I don't think they understand the feeling that comes from doing it and the cool people you meet along the way. Ken and I were talking about this, today, because, we're biking, and you're sitting there talking to Trisha and Natalie, and we bumped into Nigel because he's got the Bobcats, and you do things, and it doesn't have to be anything like that. Heck, it could be a lot of different things, but you meet all these volunteers that are donating their time to make our community better. And they're special people, and they're interesting people, and they all come with their own stories, and they all come, and there's this emotional high that comes off of that. Not to mention the good times and laughter and everything else that comes from doing something like that. Somehow, in our society, I feel like volunteering is equated to work. And I don't know how to erase that, because that isn't true whatsoever. Sure, there is some work in there, but that is not exactly correct, right? Yeah, there's some hard work at times, yeah. But most of the time, with the hard work is good times and meeting good people and then doing good things for others.
Absolutely. And it just keeps you going, hey? And I feel like we all saw a bit of that, well, a lot of that with this bike for breakfast because none of us were able to do that in a year and a half, man. Like we were never able to connect with one another in that way. And we were saying we were going to have to cancel it because of COVID, but it was cool because it was a lot of work, but man, it connected us. And I feel like, I've made 10 new brothers and sisters through it. And it's a camaraderie that you get, right? Just from volunteering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Well, I want to flip to finally the Crewmaster Final 5. I know it's been a quick hour,
Yeah.
but I don't want to keep you in here all night. I know you are a busy guy, and I know you got lots of things, I'm sure, on the go. So 5 quick questions, and then we'll have you out of here, okay?
Yeah.
And saying that, you go as long as you want. I'm always curious, with guests, if they could have one person to sit down with, who would they take? Who would they want to pick their brain on?
Oh, man. Man, you guys are, I don't even know, man. I got to go back to my basketball roots. I can't think of anyone like, offside. I love hanging out with my dad. I don't think I'd need to ask him anything, no. But for me, I've always been addicted to that Mamba mentality. Kobe Bryant.
Bryant.
It's, I
Kobe.
can't say I share, his full ability to just focus. I wish I could, but I would love to pick his brain and see how he becomes so determined, because I think I don't know, I love that stuff, and I love reading about him and his books and his life, and of course there's a huge tragedy when that happened, but the Mamba mentality, Kobe Bryant, man.
You mentioned at the start, before we fired this up, that you're a TV show guy.
Yeah.
You like your TV shows.
Yeah.
What TV show are you currently watching? And then what TV show is your favorite?
I'm a huge TV show guy, and the main reason I'm a TV show guy is I can't turn my brain off. Like I don't usually take the time to watch TV or anything like that. And so I have cable. I don't watch cable. But I have to watch something to put my mind to sleep. And I know it's weird, but that's the only way I've ever been able to get to sleep since I was like 12 years old. I needed to have like something in the background. And so for me now, it's The Office. And I've probably been through that series probably 8 or 9 times. And it's not that I'm even watching it now. It's just that it puts my mind at ease, man. Like hearing Michael Scott just be an idiot. Like there's something comforting about that to me. And I think I would hazard a guess to think that a lot of people my age would agree with that too, because there is something comforting. We all grew up with like, Family Matters and Step by Step, and it was just like, wholesome family entertainment. And
Fresh
that's what
Prince.
Fresh Prince. That's what you get with The Office. There's no extra. It's just wholesome comedy that you can turn your mind off to.
Here's a funny story about The Office, okay? So I didn't watch it when it came out.
Huge mistake.
Didn't care. Didn't have the time for it. I watched like one episode. Michael Scott drove me nuts. I just couldn't take it.
Yeah.
And then it was probably like 5 years after The Office was done. Everything was... But I still didn't follow along with any of it, so I had no idea what was going on. I didn't care. And then, one day, like this is literally, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, whenever, I decided, you know what? Everybody talks so highly about The Office. I'm going to start watching.
Yeah,
and I watched it from the first episode all the way through. And, it was fantastic. That first season, Michael Scott
first season was horrible. Yeah. That was too much.
It's I don't even know how to put it into words. Like he's so stupid. It drives you nuts.
Yeah.
And saying that, it's superb.
Yeah.
But I will give The Office a huge props for when Michael Scott leaves and they bring in Will Ferrell. See, even 5 years after, I didn't know what happens.
Yeah.
So when the first episode Will Ferrell's in, I'm like, this is awful. And if this is how it continues, I'm done. Right? Like I'm invested now. Yeah. I'm done. And then they cart him off and then he never comes back. I'm like, that was brilliant. And actually, I'm actually quite happy about what they just did, right? And it makes you forget about Michael Scott, which you should never do at that point.
Totally.
But what they did was excellent in writing.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. And I'll continue to watch that show every night before bed, between 11:30 and 12. And I don't know. I love it. What I'm watching right now, dare I say, Too Hot to Handle. You ever watch that show on Netflix? It's just pure garbage, but it's so addicting, and you get the people at work talking about it, and then you're like, what's going on? Well, Bachelor's not going on, so now you got to watch this stuff. I am embarrassed I even said that, but
I wish people can see my face.
Best show of all time, Seinfeld. No question.
Ooh.
Yeah, no question. I didn't even know I had PVR, but I have PVR, and I remember I probably recorded one episode of Seinfeld and then recorded the whole series. So now on my PVR, I'll watch Seinfeld at least once a week. I love that stuff, man. And it's kind of like weird because if he came out with that show now, there's a couple like really offside episodes.
Yeah, but
he'd never get away with it.
Yeah, but listen, that's history. You go anywhere back in history, we can erase half the stuff because it was offside. But at the time, it wasn't.
At the time, it wasn't.
And now the rules have changed. But that's life.
Totally, right?
You go anywhere you want in history, you can find offside things.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. It's pretty darn funny show though. I love it. What's your favorite show?
Okay, so I think the best show to ever hit television ever, only the first season, was True Detective. Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, murder mystery, really messed up, dark, superb acting. It is the best thing that's ever hit the TV.
Did you read Matthew McConaughey's book?
Yeah, Greenlights, fantastic.
Interesting. Hey,
I want to interview him so bad. Like he is my type of guy, and he traveled the United States in a trailer and just pull into random places, and and he's Matthew freaking McConaughey.
I know, right?
Like it's wild.
Yeah, he's not just the guy in the Lincoln commercial. Like
That's right.
He's got a whole background to him, right?
Yeah.
Did you start journaling after that?
I journaled before.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I not nearly as much as him.
Yeah.
But I still sometimes the easiest way to get out of your head is to put it on paper.
Absolutely, especially in the middle of the night. Hey, you want to get something out of your head so you can go to bed. You write it down.
I can't sit here and say I have a problem with sleeping.
No.
Listen, so I just ended a 72-hour fast today. So I hadn't eaten in 72 hours.
What's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Why?
I'm heavy, and I'm tired of being heavy. And so I've done a ton of reading on fasting and how healthy it is for your body.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I did a 72-hour fast.
But this is what I'm talking about. This is willpower. This is that voice in your head telling you, no, I can do this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's badass, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. 72 hours allows you, it's the first time I'd ever done it. And it forces you to talk to yourself. That sounds odd. I was just talking to Vance Crowe about this on a previous episode, but you got that inner monologue. And when you start doing things like not eating, it starts talking loud. And you got to have a conversation with it like, listen, this is what we're doing. You don't like it? That's fine. We're going to carry on. Because I'm not going this way for another 3 years, right? Like COVID sucked.
Yeah.
Like the year sucked. Like it wasn't good. And there was a lot of good things that came out of it. I'm not sitting here saying the year was bad. But like for me, I wasn't active. I'm an active guy. I like playing hockey or getting out with the kids and doing whatever. And, the bike for breakfast was part of that brainchild. It's like, I got to get moving here because I'm just bulking up and I'm not doing anything about it, right? And when you start putting on weight and you just kind of like, whatever, right? I'll have another burrito or whatever else, right? Well, Mel and the kids are down in the States, and when they're gone, I get to do extreme things. Fasting is, in our world, extreme. And so I was like, screw it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Because then it forced me to be like, you know what? I don't really care we're not going that way. We're gonna go this way. And it's been a really enjoyable experience. Honestly, the best sleeps have come while I'm fasting.
What? Really?
I'm not kidding you.
Do 72 hours just drinking water.
Yeah.
Wow. And you're not drunk just drinking one beer right now.
No. No, I feel, I don't know. I feel really good. People have this idea in their head. If you don't eat for a day,
Yeah.
you're going to get weak. And, and for some people, I'm not sitting here saying it doesn't. For everybody, everybody's a little different. But if you can power through those and whatever you got to do, drink water. I mean, you got to drink water and stuff like that. You'll hit this point where you're like, geez, I'm not even hungry. This is kind of odd. And then you kind of get like this energy perk, right? Like I was dancing around the parade today and I was at like 71 hours of not eating. And I was like, oh, this feels pretty good. Like I feel pretty good right now. Like here we go. And I've read that if you do a 7-day fast, which I've not gotten there, and don't worry, folks, I'm not on my way there.
Yeah.
But I've heard that day 5, 6, 7 are wild. Like how much energy you have and everything else. Now, I never have experienced it. And I really want to get a guy on, one of the doctors who's written on it.
Yeah.
Because it's fascinating to me.
That's incredible, man. So how do you translate that mindset or translate that focus into other areas of your life?
Well, so me and Vance were having this conversation, like almost verbatim, and not transferring the mindset, but just I got to a point, and you know this, in Bike for Breakfast, where I burned out. Like I was just, it overwhelmed me, like how fast it went along. And I loved it, but I still had other commitments I had to be doing. I couldn't just do 7 days a week. It was impossible. And I hit this point where I was on autopilot with the podcast. I was almost on autopilot with Bike for Breakfast. I was almost on autopilot with my life, just to kind of like survive. And survive is maybe a little extreme, but you get the idea. And then when it all ended and everything started to go back to normal, you just need good habits to start building that foundation again, to get like think, okay, I'm good. And for me, fasting is one of those good habits that puts everything back in focus. It's been a very good experience for me because it's forced me to take back control of my routine and everything else. And before COVID, I had a really solid routine. Like I was a guy who was up most days at 5 a.m. I journaled a lot. I read a lot. I worked out. I was walking dogs. Like I was going, and I've struggled to get out of bed at 5 in the morning. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I just can't get back there. And fasting forces you to look inwards because your body's like screaming at you. Why don't you just put a potato chip in your face or anything, right? And it's like, no, we're gonna do this.
Man, Sean, it's kind of like symbolic how it's, end of restrictions, get your life back.
I lost my camera on you, but
that's all right. You
guess
don't need to see me anyway.
yeah, that was strange. I don't know. Sorry, you were saying symbolic.
It's super symbolic that you can get your life back. Like COVID, I think COVID robbed us of a lot of our lives, and now you're getting control back in your life. I really admire that, man. That's huge.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I don't know. Yeah, I just wasn't happy with where I was at.
Yeah.
And one day you wake up and you go,
enough's enough.
Enough's enough, honestly.
Right? Yeah.
And it isn't like one day and you're back to where you were.
No,
it's going to take time and consistency and everything else.
Yeah.
But one day at a time, and all of a sudden you're 10 days in and you're like, yeah, I like this. This feels good. And let's go.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Good for you, Sean. That's really cool.
If you could go back to your younger days.
Yeah.
We got sidetracked on that.
Yeah.
If you could go back to your younger days and become a professional athlete, I know you become a basketball player.
No question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what basketball team would you sign up for tomorrow, and who would you want on your, on your team?
Like back then or now? Because right now basketball sucks.
Oh, really?
I think we all admit that.
I don't know. I'm going to be honest.
You don't even watch it.
I'm not watching.
I think basketball now is a shade of what it was back.
Is that because of the super teams?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous, right? Like you can't just buy your team, but it's also there's no drama. Like if you want to talk about drama, it's the NBA on NBC triple headers on a Saturday morning when you have you know, the preambles and you know, I don't even know what they call it. I guess the mini commercials before the game starts, where you have Karl Malone and John Stockton going up against Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. And those were the days, man. Like that's what basketball was. And now it's just, you know, shooting threes and hit as many threes as you can, and whoever hits more threes wins the game. And that's all it is. There's no drama. There's nothing to it.
A basketball guy who thinks basketball stinks. All right, fair.
Yeah, I mean,
So what
phenomenal basketball is college basketball, right? Like we all
That's
love watching
fair.
like March Madness.
Yeah,
people will stay home and watch March Madness, right?
Actually, I don't know if there's in all the sports, if there is a better tournament to watch than March Madness. And I love the first round of the NHL playoffs, but March Madness is pretty wild. And they give her at all times, and anyone can win. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously favorites, but how many times have you seen the upsets? And it's just wild.
Oh, totally, right? Yeah, no, I love it. I still remember watching Steph Curry when he was playing for Davidson, like an unknown school, and here he is. Like, if you ever go back and watch like highlights, Steph Curry literally looks like he's 12 years old, and just shooting out the lights, man. Like that was awesome to see. But back to if I was on any team, Orlando Magic.
Orlando
Magic. Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Penny Hardaway.
Yeah.
Nick Anderson. Horace Grant. You know Horace Grant.
And
goggles.
And Nekky Jamal.
Dominate. We would have won that title.
The Orlando Magic. I remember when they were the thing.
They were.
Yeah.
And they had that little, like, what was it? Little Penny? Little Penny. He's on those 7-Eleven commercials. I stayed home and watched a lot of TV. NBA on NBC.
You mentioned back when you were age 7, you watched a lot of wrestling. Who was your favorite wrestler when you were 7?
Undertaker. Undertaker. Do you remember Undertaker versus Yokozuna? You know, I can't believe we're bringing this up right now. And you'd beg your dad to be like, "Hey, Dad, can I have WrestleMania? And can you order the pay-per-view?" And he'd be like, "What are you joking me?" And I think we all loved wrestling back then. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who's your favorite?
Back in the day?
Yeah.
So my favorite wrestler of all time was The Rock, but that's when you're getting into the late 90s kind of thing, right?
That was later WWF.
I liked who was the tag team who had the spikes on their shoulders?
Oh, was it the Nasty Boys?
No, not the Nasty Boys. Who was that?
Oh man, tip of the tongue. I know what you're talking about. I can see them in my head. There was like football pads with spikes on them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. But that was good drama back then. And it's funny because as a kid, I was like, is this real? Is this fake? Is this real? It looks pretty real.
The Road Warriors.
The Road Warriors. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that one.
Hawk and Animal and Hawk. Animal and Hawk. And they wore the big shoulder pads with the spikes everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I remember liking them. I liked the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Who didn't like him, right?
Yeah.
But my heyday of wrestling was The Rock, and he was, there's a reason why.
What do they call him? Rocky Maivia? Was it? Rocky?
Yeah, something like that at the start. He had the people's elbow. Like his ability.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
his ability to win a crowd over, because he started as a heel, right? Everybody hated him, and he was so charismatic. He had a way of just electrifying the building. Mm-hmm. And I would just watch just to wait for him to come on, right? And they'd always stack the odds against him. Jeez, I sound like a total... Like, I haven't watched wrestling in forever, right? Like, when The Rock left, I was kind of like, it's over for me, right?
Yeah.
But like, they'd stack the Triple H and all those guys against him, and he just...
Just always won. What about Stone Cold?
Yeah, Stone Cold was the second.
He was
Number
good.
2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stone Cold.
Smash the beers, drink them, give the Stone Cold stunner.
The stunner, yeah.
Yeah, him and always Vince McMahon kick him and then drop him. And
Do you remember? I can't believe we're the biggest dorks right now. Do you remember when Vince McMahon started actually fighting?
yes,
And I was be like, what? He's fighting, and then he takes his shirt off. And I remember jumping up and being like, he's got muscles.
well, he's the owner, right? You didn't
Yeah, right?
expect it from.
No, he didn't. He's always wearing a suit, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, he's an actual character now. He's going to kick everyone's ass. We will never repeat this.
Well, it's gonna get repeated on repeat now for the. I don't know. Yeah, everybody loved wrestling back in the day.
Yeah,
it was,
that's right.
It was theater.
It
And,
was theater.
And
it was theater for us, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it, man. And,
The Paul Bearer, Undertaker was one thing. Paul Bearer scared the living Jesus out of me as a kid. You know?
yeah. No, I hear that. Were you scared of ghosts as a kid?
Was I scared of ghosts?
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I ever really believed in ghosts. You?
Really? Oh, man. Terrified.
How did that happen?
I don't know, man. You know what? You know what it was? In grade 5, someone brought a book to school, and it was like Bloody Mary. You remember Bloody Mary? You look in the mirror 3 times and say Bloody Mary, and she appears.
Yeah, sure.
Ever since then, to this day, you will never catch me in a dark bathroom.
Really?
It just freaks me out, man. There's something about it. I can't get it. Don't you dare tell me a ghost story right now. I'll walk right out of here.
You don't want to hear a ghost
Nope,
story?
no.
You don't
Freaks
want-
me out.
you
I don't know what it is.
I got a good ghost
Nah,
story for you.
don't even, man.
I got a good ghost story
here we
for
go.
you.
Here we go.
So our house that we live in, every time at roughly 8 o'clock, okay, on the front door, there's like this, not like that, but like a heavy. So when it first started happening, I would get up because I thought a bird hit the window. That's if you can hear a bird hitting the window, folks, that's what it sounds like.
thunk.
Yeah, like thunk. And I'm like, what the heck is that? So then I go open the door and look for the bird, and must got up and left, or right, like whatever. And then after like I don't know the 20th day of it happening, Mel and I were like, okay, something isn't exactly
Like
right.
every day at 8 o'clock.
Yep, yeah, it happened last night.
Did you try standing outside and looking?
No, why?
Okay.
I guess where I get to, Nekky, is I go, isn't bothering me. Like whoever it is, isn't bothering me. And I'm cool with that. Heck, half the time I'll talk to him and be like, hey, man, hope everything's going good. I'm just watching a show, having a beer. Right? Like, what are you going to do?
Oh, man. Freaks me out, man. I don't know. It's just having something that can't be explained really freaks me out.
Yeah, but there's so much that can't be explained.
I know, but when you go deep down into it, everything can be explained. Like, everything has an explanation. But the supernatural doesn't, man. I don't know. I can't figure it out.
I don't know. To me, there's a lot that can't be explained. And that's what science and people doing all different types of things are trying to explain everything. And it'll never end, ever.
Yeah.
There will always be unexplainable things that happen, and it's not going to occupy my mind. I got enough things to worry
Enough
about.
stuff going on. That's why I watch The Office at night. I don't have to think about it. It's just smooth sailing.
Do you listen to podcasts?
Yeah.
All right. Here's your final one then.
Yeah.
Other than the Sean Newman podcast, what's the podcast of choice?
I do like your podcast, Sean. Revisionist History.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell. There's something about his voice, man. It's just, I don't know. It's
I'd love to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. He's Canadian, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Smart as heck. I love his ability to flip the conversation around and have you believe him. You know what I mean? Like you just view things out of a different light. I really like his books and no, man, Malcolm Gladwell just has that ability, that captivating voice to keep you going, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your favorite podcast? What do you listen to?
Oh, I say it on here all the time. You'll see the quote on the wall. Whatever time you have attack like you're trying to save the world. Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He has a speech in like episode 9 something, and it's not a speech, but it's just a snippet out of one of his podcasts where he says that along with it just really resonated with me and where I'm at in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so Joe Rogan to me is his ability to get some of the smartest, coolest people on the planet on his podcast to open up, to talk about things, to, drink and smoke weed and just be open about things is wild, and I love it. And then, if I drill down into something like closer to home, I really like 222 Minutes. He's a guy from Saskatchewan originally that has like a 17-minute monologue about, basically Canadian politics. And it makes me laugh out loud. And very few podcasts allow me to do that. And it's just, it's vulgar. So I don't suggest kids listening to that. I suggest if you're into politics and kind of want a humorous take on what's going on, he does it in like 15 minutes, and it's awesome. And then, I listen to Revisionist History. I listened to another one, too, that is History, the Future is the History, or History is the Future, or something like that. And it goes back and tells old stories about how it applies to now, like how we're almost repeating.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay,
it's pretty cool. So I listen to a lot. Vance Crowe is a guy I just had on this past week. Yeah. And he's super cool individual. I enjoy listening to him. So I drive a ton. So I listen to a ton of podcasts.
Yeah. Where do you see the future of podcasts going?
Well, I think it's going to... I see it continuing to trend up. I don't see a lot of people listening to radio anymore.
Absolutely. I don't think there's. I don't see that happening either.
Everybody, and I don't know what the age is. I don't know if it's 50 and younger, 40 and younger, but there is a break, because there is, there's lots of people who still enjoy the radio and hearing the local news and whatever. But I would say, for sure, my age demographic and younger, if they're listening to things, it's Spotify, it's YouTube, and it's podcasts, or it's like Audible and books, right? You can listen to books that have become really good. And so to me, you want to get what's going on in Lloydminster, or you want to get what's going on anywhere, there's probably a podcast for it. Yeah. You want to be entertained, you can literally search any subject on podcasting and find one with 5 stars, and it's excellent. And to me, podcasts for the next however many years are going to be in its golden age, and I think they're going up.
Absolutely. I totally hear you, because that's what I do in the car too. I'll be like, what do I want to learn about today? And I remember listening to the coffee one with some fellow on the Joe Rogan podcast. It was phenomenal, man. Yeah. Like, you can literally pick up anything, and yeah.
Well,
I love it.
Listen, before I started fasting,
yeah,
I searched fasting on the podcast app, found about 6 different podcasts, started listening to one and like refresh my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah. And that took me one afternoon, and boom, now you remember. And you can do that on any subject. Any subject, there's something out there on it. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, man. I totally hear that. I love it.
Well, thank you, sir, for coming in and doing this.
Sean, I've always, been impressed by your guests, and I'm just honored to be one of them.
Well,
so that's wicked.
You've been suggested to me a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Is that they want to know who the neck master is, the neck meister.
Okay.
and so I appreciate you coming in and indulging me and indulging the listener in a little bit of your backstory and how you got into dentistry and everything else. Yeah.
No, for real, Sean, like over this last year, I'm telling you, highlighted 2021. Sitting down here having a cider, but it was a Pilsner. Talking about, getting to know you and bike for breakfast. And I have a good feeling we're going to set the city on fire and do some really cool things in the upcoming years, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks again.
Got it, buddy. Thanks, Sean.
Hey, folks. Thanks for joining us today. If you just stumbled on the show, please click subscribe. Then scroll to the bottom and rate and leave a review. I promise it helps. Remember, every Monday and Wednesday, we will have a new guest sitting down to share their story. The Sean Newman Podcast is available for free on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcast fix. Until next time.